Hello, everybody. My name's Angel Cortes. This is the OG Pumpkin Podcast. I promise I'll get better at an intro. Naturally, I'll come up with it. But today's podcast is as soon as I thought about it, I was like, this needs to be done. It's gonna do good. But almost immediately, another piece of me I was like, I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to do it because I'm gonna have to revisit a lot of things that I'm not really proud of. Who I am now is clearly not who I've always been, especially throughout my military career. And I think this podcast is very important because I get hundreds of messages about random things, but a lot of them, the first couple that I got, I started getting years ago, guys were interested in what does the military do for my relationship or a relationship or family and kids. And I think this podcast is going to help guys who are about to get in, and women too, guys who are currently in, guys who are about to get out, and then guys who are out. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, I want to say it's 50%, maybe even higher, the divorce rate. So in the military, so not maybe. I know it's going to help. This podcast will help a lot of people, and hopefully it starts the conversation within couples, or it makes guys realize certain things, and maybe sit down and talk with their wives and ask them some questions. So without further ado, Analia Cortes, my wife, thank you for being on.
Yeah, I was kind of pretty nervous, but I know that this will be very good, very beneficial to a lot of people. So I'm glad I can help.
So right off the bat, what you thought a military wife was going to be like? Was it what you thought it was going to be?
No, not at all.
What did you think it was going to be?
Most of it is from movies, I think, because I didn't know anybody who was a military spouse. We did get married very young.
Like a lot of military guys do.
Right before deployment. I mean, you want that extra income.
How old were you guys?
I was 19 and you were 18.
Yep, I did exactly what the drill sergeants were like not to do. They're like, don't graduate basic training and get married. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking do that. And immediately
you text me, will you marry me?
I sent you a text, hey, will you marry me?
So cute.
So we get married. And what is your thoughts on what you thought, life was going to be like as a military spouse?
Well, I don't want to say I thought it was going to be easy, but I didn't know how emotional or kind of that supportive role, how much or how important it would be for your spouse. I thought it would be kind of like, okay, we're married, a marriage, and he'll be gone a couple times. Just go back with my family and it'll be fine. It'll be like.
And when did it first hit you that, this is mentally and emotionally taxing more than what I thought?
I would say, I think a little bit while I was pregnant, because you did miss like the first movements or basically all the ultrasounds for our first one.
What was that like?
Well, I was in Washington, so I didn't have my family, which was hard, I guess a little bit, but I was like, oh, well, I have my friends. My friends that I met that were also military spouses. So you kind of connect with a few, not all, because it is kind of like high school. There's cliques and then there's bad cliques, good cliques. So those few, they become your family because they go with you through each stage. And, so that was kind of hard. Like when I found out I was having a boy, I was like, but there was nobody else there. So I was like, okay, like I can't wait to tell him now. And it was like kind of like a little secret I had. So, but I didn't get to tell you directly. I had to tell through the FRG, which is like the family's system support that they have there while your spouse is gone. So I had to tell them. I think I had to write an email, and then, but luckily you called before they even told you. I think, right? I got to tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I called you and I told you we were having a boy, and I was like, yay! Now I can get really excited because now we both knew. But I would say it did get hard more so once I had AJ. At the hospital, delivery wise, because you don't have your spouse there. I did have my best friend Yasmin, so she did help, but again, it's not your spouse. And then just him growing up and you not being there, like to see his first of many milestones. And my family would make fun of me because I'd be like, oh, like don't give him any like lime or don't do anything because I want Angel to experience that. So they would make fun of me like, oh, I'm gonna give him like a candy, and I'm like, no.
So to be more little bit more specific, it's when I got deployed.
Yes, you were deployed
and you went back home.
Oh yes, yeah.
So
I had AJ in Washington while you were deployed because you left early December. He was born the 31st, and then I think he was a couple weeks, maybe no, like a month or two, because we had like a little cupcake celebration for him for turning 1 month. And then you came for 2 weeks and we made our move to California. We drove down, and then after those 2 weeks, you had to leave, which I can only imagine was hard because you got to meet him. And then,
well, to be honest, it at the time it was easy. It was easier. Like right now, if I were to do it, it'd be so hard. But I was just so engulfed in going back, and because the guys were still back there, and I got to visit my son for a little while, which is cool. But my mind was clearly overseas. It was on the guys. I was just going to go back.
Getting back to the boys.
And it wasn't that I didn't care. I was just like, right now is not the time. I just got to go back. And like many things, I was just, right now's not the time for this, to feel bad or sad that I don't get to see my son. So, I consider the fact that I turned a man in the military, so I wasn't a man immediately. So I'm growing as an individual and learning how to do the army thing and also be a husband. So I'm deployed. You have our first son, and what is it like living with kids while your spouse is deployed, and you don't know if he's gonna get hurt, and then somebody does get hurt that we know, well, specifically dies.
Yeah,
Lily and Pinnock die. What is that like?
Well, I was back in California with my family, and so I had that support at that time. They were able to watch him, like just so I can eat or, bathe him, and then so I can, check emails or send you stuff. But having a kid that young, you were just deployed, so he needed a lot of my attention. So it was a good distraction. But then again, at night when he was asleep, I'd be like, okay, what is he doing? And since you're deployed and you're not in a big, I'm going to say fob. I don't know.
Yeah, fob. So
fob,
a
right?
big base.
Okay, a big base. You were out, in your own one. So I know it was hard to communicate. So I didn't the chances that you did call him, make sure you pick up. Or I think I missed one or two of your calls, and I was like, oh, who knows next time when we'll talk. But, it is hard. But luckily at that time, if you are surrounded by family, it makes it easier because it's a distraction, just with every family, there's issues. So you don't get to think about, your spouse getting hurt unless when you're by yourself and you're alone with those thoughts. So, having a newborn, you were so tired, you're a zombie zone,
Yeah, because I will look at pictures of you, and I tell you all the time, I'm like, you look so dead, you look so defeated. And now, I'm
I'm
like,
alive.
fuck, I wish I was there. I wish I could help.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's one of the biggest things that the more we talk about things is how many times have you heard me say, like, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea it was that rough for you. I had no idea it was this and that. And I was so about the boys that hopefully this helps dudes. Some of them are in that position right now. They don't even know that they're so into the boys, the platoon, the squad, the team, that they're ignoring, not on purpose, but your wife and kids.
I mean, because you're in mission mode, you're like, how am I going to get better? Make sure, take care of your guys. So it's like, well, she's got that, so I don't have to worry about any of it. But it's also like, well, we both decided to have kids. So,
So, and because a lot of the listeners don't know, you and I met at a very young age. We were in second grade.
We were friends.
So we were friends. So you knew me, and so we have our first kid. I'm deployed, and the deployment goes how it goes. A lot of people die, people get hurt, and when I came back, what was I like?
Well, I could tell, like, your expression or your face was different. Like, I mean, it kind of weared off with time, but right away, like, I don't know, you can just see it, like, even in pictures, like, you just look more awake. Like, I don't know. But besides that, you were more, like, serious too. Like, I would notice when you would drive, like, you were kind of tense and just, like, looking at everything. And I was like, okay, that's probably due to the fact that you was searching for IEDs over there. So I would just kind of let you. I don't think I've ever questioned or be like, what are you doing? Because I'm like, well, I know he's going to come back with either, like, anything and everything or nothing at all. But I did notice that you were more serious. I could just tell your face was more different. You've seen things or experienced things,
Which, I thank you for like letting that stuff happen and kind of play out. Because I remember it was so natural to have a rifle. So when I came home, I immediately grab. At the time I had an AK. Grabbed the AK. I loaded it, and then right before we're going to bed, it's right by my feet. And you never said anything. and after a while, instead of putting it right by my feet, or not literally by my feet, but like right next to me, I put it against the wall. And then after a while, I put it in the closet. And then after a while, then I just put it all away.
Well, because I saw it as, let him not necessarily deal with yourself, but things like that, like, that's going to be on your own. You're going to figure out when it's time to, like, slowly put it away. Like, I don't want to push you, and also because we did get married pretty early and we didn't get to experience being a couple, or like just us two married. Like, you were married and okay, now we're a family. Now we have a baby. So, I was like, okay, like, I'll let him, like, deal with that. And then if he needs me or asks for my help, then yes, I'm there 100%.
Which I never did.
Yeah.
And I bottled a lot of stuff in, and I would say for a while I was very short fused, very distant. What is that like? Like, knowing me and then going through that, and then me being a certain way.
I guess after a while, like, when you came back, I realized, like, okay, this is kind of what is part of being a military spouse. Like, it's not going to be all awesome, and, there's going to be issues. And I also took it as, like, well, we haven't been married long, so we don't know how we're each going to react or what we want. So kind of learn along the way. And it was kind of like, just let him, because I'm sure, I mean, you don't know how to deal with that, or if you're going to come back with anything, and there's no handbook like, this is what you do with your husband who has a short fuse, or like if he decides this or that. So we kind of learned along the way. And I saw it was best in our relationship to just kind of like, okay, like I'll let him kind of deal with it, but I'll be there. And then just kind of like, you know, and it's kind of hard because you only have your other military spouses to kind of talk with and relate with, because your family doesn't understand, like, you know, they understand to an extent, but it is kind of hard, and you need that support with the other military spouses. And I would say, you know, having Shelby and Marlena and Holly, like, okay, yeah, they do understand, they're going through the same thing kind of similar to as me, so, you know, it's nice. And then especially if they have kids, it's a bonus, like, yes, play dates, you know,
because that's a very important thing that I think a lot of us forget, is that you know, I'm me right before I leave, right? So we all have family and friends, and they know that version. And then me going through the military experience, you start changing, and everyone expects that and see and knows about that, but they forget that the spouse is also going through that, and they themselves are not the same, and they are experiencing things. And who left, not completely, but then they separate, because like I go back and I can't relate to, you know, people that we went to high school with. And then is that the same with you when you go back? You're like, it's kind of hard to relate to people.
To relate to kind of, yeah, not kind of, but yeah, like you know, when we would come back home and I would hang out with my same group of girlfriends from high school, you know, some of them are married, some of them are single, but you know, kind of their marriage isn't the same as our marriage, as opposed to like her husband doesn't leave for months or weeks, or, you know, her sons don't know who their dad is. So it is kind of hard, I feel like, in that aspect. But I mean, you can still joke around, but as far as like things like that, yeah, it's hard to relate with your friends back home, because they don't, I'm sure they would want to understand, but it's like, you just have to kind of go through it. That's why it's so important to find, you know, military spouses there that are also going through it, because they'll understand, especially even in the same unit. Well, more specifically, usually it is always, you know, we're in the same unit, but, you know, because they understand, they can relate. They might even have advice.
Which, you know, speaking of advice, I mean, I wish I could give myself more advice, but you know, to tell myself do this and don't do that. So then I come back, I'm going to deployment, and we're about to have another kid, and I tell you I'm going to be there. And I think so many of us tell our spouse, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to miss this. I promise I'm not going to miss that. But in reality, we don't have control over that. We have zero control over that.
Yeah.
And then I do it to you again. Yeah. I miss a lot with our daughter. I miss her birth.
I mean, luckily you were there for when we found out we were having a girl.
Yeah.
So at least I was like, okay, you know, we got to experience that together. But I do remember you telling me, I think you were over the phone, and you're like, oh, I won't be able to be there for her birth. And we talked like, oh, well, they said that, you know, they can fly me out. And I was like, oh. But then you were telling me the prices, and I was like, oh, no, because, I mean, you were just in, so we didn't have a lot of, you know, high pay grades. So I was like, well, no.
You don't really start making money in the military, in my opinion, until you're married and above E5 and above, so sergeant and above. So like, at that point, were you over it? I'm not over it, but like,
no, I know what you mean. Like when you did tell me like, oh, you know, I won't be able to be there. Like, it does suck to hear that. Like, okay, here we go again. But it's like, you're already so used to it. Like, you know, like, oh, I have to go. What is it called? What's the name? Well, like when you have to go, you're on staff duty.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, well, our plans are canceled. Or, you know, just, oh, you know, I got to go be on suicide watch because of this guy. Or you're just kind of used to like, oh, okay, your plans are not always set in stone. So when you did tell me you won't be able to be there for Ari's birth, I was like, okay, like, well, luckily I do have somebody to be there with me, which was Shelby and Martha Pinnick.
And so at what point do you feel, or do you even know, like, stuff is boiling up?
I don't think I felt it till maybe after you got out, because then I was like, well, there's no more excuses now. Like,
because like during while I was in, I didn't know it, but I'm leaving on deployment, and I'm going for training, and a bunch of it I volunteered for. Like, I didn't even have to do it, but I wanted to do it.
Right. But you're just so great with words. You were like, I gotta go, and I was like, oh yeah, you gotta go. You made it sound like.
And then, but then I also come home, and it's like, well, the weekends are like, well, let's barbecue with the guys and do this and that. So,
but I mean, I loved that. I loved, being around the guys, and because I loved watching you, how you were with them, and how you guys. Because then also during those hangouts, like, I got to learn more about you guys overseas, like what you guys did, or just random stupid stories like that you wouldn't open up to me about. So I like those, because you would kind of open up more because you were around the boys, and I got to hang out with my friends, which were their spouses. So I didn't care that we didn't just spend like us three alone, like because it was our own little family. So it was just hanging out with family.
Because, well, opening up, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it is hard. And the only time I think we ever did it was once alcohol started kicking in.
Well, yeah, because you guys would drink.
We would drink and then talk.
Right.
So I get out, and for what was that like, seeing me basically self-destruct?
Well, it was hard. Yeah, it was hard because I couldn't really help you, because you didn't really realize what was going on. I kind of felt that you kind of lost your identity, like you lost your purpose, because when you got out, like, it was right the first couple months, it feels just like R&R. Like, we came to see family, like, we saw everybody, all the barbecues, and then it starts settling in. Okay, well, who's gonna work? What kind of jobs can you even get? And we still have to feed and commute to everywhere. So all those pressures kind of kick in. And since you're being there longer with your family, they start opening up about other issues and personal stuff with family. And so it's a bunch of everything just kind of piled on. And not just family, but also us. Like, I was like, okay, like, once we get out, like, we're actually going to be able to be a couple. Like, our family can watch the kids, and we'll get to know each other now, who we are now. So it was like kind of a lot all at once. And I feel, the biggest thing was I couldn't help you, because a part of me felt like he doesn't see kind of what's going on. And also kind of dealing with, not being in our own place where we can actually have time to talk, and, dealing with those issues, or actually speaking like, hey, like, something's up. So it was hard watching you do that, because, it's your loved one.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I mean, I think it's a recipe of not opening up and taking care of things when they should have been taken care of, and being mature, because I didn't even know I was losing my identity, and I didn't even know that I was a good Army dad, but now I'm not in the Army. Now I got to be a real dad, and I wasn't as good as I thought I was as a father. And then I wasn't as good as I thought I was as being a husband and a friend, because you and I were friends. I mean, I think all spouses are they're friends, So there's that, Yes, I'm your husband, but I'm also your friend, and you're my best friend. I've told you that. But I mean, what do you wish? You know,
what could have done differently,
yeah,
or
could
how
have
I
done
could have
differently
helped. I think
in the
I should
military
have.
and
Oh,
deployment,
no.
like throughout all the whole
The
military.
whole. I probably asked for help, maybe from you. Kind of get like I wanted you to kind of be more involved and not just have these like weekends like getaways. Like actually do things to get to know the kids, or let you be like, okay, well today you're gonna cook dinner. Like figure out what the kids like to kind of get you to know who your kids are, because I think I took the role as of like, I'm going to take care of everything in the house. Like you just focus on your mission, on working out, getting better, like I got this, don't worry. And maybe that in a way affected you getting to know the kids, or like, them just having like dad and me dates. Like, we just started doing that now.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been so much more beneficial doing it while in the military,
Which I think that's so true, because you took care of so much, which helped me and helped me focus. But we forget that what's happening at home, or just your spouse, if it's not good there, it's not going to be good at work. And you were doing everything, which you were, I'm not sure if the term is a crutch. Is that the right term for it? But
kind of, yeah.
You were feeding.
I was an enabler.
And you were an enabler,
yeah.
For sure.
I let you go out with the guys maybe more than I should have.
Yeah.
I should have reeled you back in.
And which I think would have helped prevented a lot of fights, prevented a lot of bad feelings, boiling up. Because how many of our friends have gotten divorces?
Too many.
And I think that's why I wanted to have you on, because I think it'll help a lot of people not get divorced. So there's that. You wish you could tell yourself, no, make him be more part of the kids, so I don't feel like I'm taking on so much. But what about there's that, and what about deployment and what happens and the bottling in of things that so many of us do while we're in?
Again, I feel like I should have spoken up, and in a way, not so much in a demanding way or in a nagging way, kind of ask, how you're doing, or, well, during deployment, we had very little time to communicate. So I just kind of wanted to give you like, okay, we're okay. Like, the kids are starting to do this, or Adrian's just learning how to crawl, or, but, just kind of check in with you, how you were doing mentally. I don't think I really asked.
No.
But who knows if you would have said something, but I think that would have been something just to kind of just ask, and maybe eventually, if.
Because I remember you told me when I figured it out, when it finally hit me, like, I feel like I put the boys first, and I might have showed them more love than I showed you, and put you on the back end and made you not the first priority. What was that like year after year?
I think maybe it's also my personality. I feel like I'm a people pleaser, and I don't want to have confrontation. So I did notice it more, because I'd be like, well, why wouldn't you want to stay with us? Or like, why go out again? Just the guys. Like, I'm fine with, all of us getting together, but like, why just the guys? You just went out yesterday, or, I did notice that. But at first I wasn't opposed to it, because I was like, well, they just got back. Like, they're used to seeing each other 24/7. Like, I'm not going to tell him to like, hey, you need to be home at this time. Like, no, they need to kind of feel like they're back home, so he'll come back home. Like, when he's like, okay, I'm not over there anymore, I don't need to be with them 24/7.
But that never happened.
But that didn't happen. So then I think maybe when we were in Georgia, when you were a ranger, maybe before or after RASP. I don't remember when, but I do remember you were becoming friends with the guy who was a DJ at night. And I was just like, no, like, he is single.
Yeah.
He doesn't have kids. Like, how is that going to benefit you in any way besides you going out and partying late at night? Like, that's just another step in the wrong way. And we did fight about it. But at that time, I didn't know how to kind of tell you, like, it's a step in the wrong way. Like, I want you to be kind of more with the family because, like, that's enough.
Which I think is... that's I mean, there's multiple reasons why military dudes get divorced, but I think that's one of them is the fact that we're so with the boys. And then I met this ranger who happened to, he was single and he was a DJ. So
and I was like, no.
I remember I went to his house. He himself is a DJ, but I go to his house on the weekend and there's a DJ playing at his house. And there's the mini party. Before the pregame at his house before we go out for the night.
Yeah. See, I'm all for like guy time, but it's like.
But meanwhile,
no.
I'm married. I got kids.
Yeah.
But I'm so like, well, we gotta be with the boys.
He's a ranger. We gotta stick together.
Yeah, we're rangers. So
not
we
all the rangers are good.
that is very true.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you just have to kind of meet rangers who are similar, or at least who have the same values, which would be family, and that'd be fine to hang out with them. But then again, I didn't want to be like, well, you can only hang out with this person and that person.
Yeah,
I never want to be that person. So in a way, that also didn't help. We both decided to have a family, so we should both be. Not equally, because yes, you are in the military and they demand so much of you physically and mentally. So of course it's gonna not be balanced, but enough to give you chances to be part of the family. I think it's very important, and I don't think I gave you that at all during and sometime after.
And I think also, well, it's hard to realize when you're doing bad things. Right. But, I would leave you guys all the time, and I didn't even know it. Like I wasn't even realizing it. I was so engulfed into it. And
might I add that I didn't drive. So that was a little bit worse.
Yeah, you did. She didn't learn how to drive until she was 25.
25. I learned how to drive and then got my driver's license. So,
which I think
thank you, Shelby and Kat, for driving me to the grocery store. Martha for taking me to Safeway all the time to get groceries and taking me to my doctor's appointments. I really appreciate that.
Which I think if you did know how to drive, you might have gone to some of the places where I was at and was like, dude, come fucking home.
I'd pull you out by the ear.
Yeah, pull me out by the ear. Because, I mean, I was talking to Benji, and Benji, the owner of Thrash and Raid, and on the podcast, that the episode, which he was the last episode, but before and after, and during the episode, we talked about the stuff that he did within his marriage. Or that happened within the marriage. And I was like, dude, I did that to Analia.
Very similar.
Very similar. And so many of us do it.
Yeah.
And it just ruins marriages, and it ruins families.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did we have beautiful moments? Yes. But I mean, I think it's when you're in such a demanding job, because experiences vary in the military, specifically like combat armed jobs. You're just so used to being with the boys and so on that, and
everything for the boys.
And but then you're not supposed to show emotion. So I get out, and I'm being self-destructive, and we're about to get divorced. Just like everybody.
We get separated.
About to get separated. And you being my best friend, now I don't talk to my best friend. And but before that, I mean, right before we were about to have our split, I'm abusing NyQuil to go to sleep. I'm drinking it by the bottle because I said, the machine's got to keep going. I can't sleep, so I got to find a way to sleep. I I didn't even know I lost my purpose. I didn't know that I lost my brotherhood, and I was having this identity crisis of like, so what or who am I? Because when I thought I got out, I thought I'm never gonna talk about my military service.
Right. I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it. But then me saying that, well, how am I not supposed to talk about something that I just did for the last 8 years that's been such a huge impact of who and what I am?
Right.
And in my opinion, in the military is when I became a man. So it's like, but I've heard so many people say, oh, don't talk about your service. So I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to be that dude who talks about it all the time. But then like, how am I not supposed to talk about it? How am I? So if I don't talk about the 8 years I just did, what's before that is when I was a gangbanger running around the street. So what am I supposed to do? To only talk about
Yeah. The negative.
the negative, like all that?
Not even who you are.
So then I'm like, okay, so what or who am I? And then all these questions start coming up, which I wasn't telling you, but you know, I was you know, why did my friends die, or and does this country even care about us, and my friends dying, and so all this stuff is happening, and I'm like, I have no community, I have no friends, and we're about to get a divorce, and I'm not being the best version of myself, you know, clearly, and now I'm not really being a father, not really being a husband, but at one point, I think it's when I started making friends, is when I met Yachty and Ryan, that really did start helping.
Yeah. Because then you would actually talk to me, kind of. You start and be like, he misses me.
Yeah.
He needs me.
I do. Which, because I always needed you, and I always, you helped so much, because, I mean, you were there, you were the anchor. And then I think we put so much on the spouses, whether we like to admit it or vocalize it. But like, you know, for example, when I first stated that I wanted to be in special operations, and my team leader and my squad leader laughed in my face, and they don't, I believe in myself, but I haven't done anything to
back it up, or
to back up these thoughts that I have, that like, oh, I can do these things and I can be this person, and meanwhile I'm getting laughed at, and then I'm coming home and you're my,
believe in you. Yeah.
You're my base, you support me if my meals are there, you would wash my clothes, you would do all this and that, but I just wouldn't acknowledge it. Now I tell you, thank you for this and thank you for that, and I don't acknowledge everything that you're doing, that you're being the father and the mother at times, that you're giving birth by yourself, and I'm just doing this year after year, so it's got to bottle up. So which is, I'm surprised that you wouldn't leave. You know, because left and right, people are getting divorced.
Yeah.
Right. So, and even when we get out, then dudes get divorced. You know, how many times would it be like, oh, I saw it on Facebook, or he told me and he texted me or whatever, or he sent me a DM on Instagram. They are also getting divorced. So I remember when we were about to get divorced, I was just like, whoa, well, it's natural. It's normal. This is what's supposed to happen. But I didn't want it to happen, because you and I had such a strong connection in our lives that I was like, okay, well, I can't self-destruct. I have to start, doing things that are going to help what I'm feeling inside, which a lot of veterans don't even get to that point. And I think that affects their marriages, and then they get divorced, because we have friends who got divorced being in, and then once they get out, and then so I'm starting working towards fixing myself, but I'm still not quite there yet. So who I am now, and how I see the world, and how I appreciate you and the family, I'm not there yet. And I think it's accumulation of starting to care of myself with doing physical fitness, seeing a therapist, nutrition, but I did recently the psychedelic therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I didn't even ask you, we didn't even talk about it much, but I remember just being like, well, I want to do it to see what, I would say what I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
But I come home and I tell you certain things that, were you even ready for those things? For the listeners, what happened was I do ketamine in a professional setting with medical professionals, with Field Trip Health, which is a great company, and I come home and I tell you we're about to hit 12 years married, and I just realized that who I am now is not what you got for all 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I neglected you, I neglected the family, and I don't really know my kids.
Mm-hmm.
12 years. It takes me 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you other stuff. How'd that make you feel?
Well, it kind of felt like when you realized that you were putting the boys first, it's kind of something I knew, but I didn't know how to bring it up without it turning into a fight or just something negative, or because you can't make somebody see something that they don't see or understand that they're actually doing. And so I didn't want it to sound like, I wasn't sure how it would sound. Or I wanted to make sure that you kind of understood, and I'm not the best with expressing my feelings or coming out with the right words. So you telling me that, I was just like, yes, like, I'm glad, you took this ketamine trip. You were probably expecting something different, how to better yourself as a human being, like as in what needs to be done. But I feel that in a way you did come out with that, because you came out learning how to appreciate your family.
Yeah.
And me, and and that, well, some people just don't ever get to do, but you realize that on your trip. So I was just like, okay, yes, like, we're getting better, but
And it took 12 years.
Better late than never. I mean, I'm still here.
Yes. And I love you for that. And which is why it's the only reason why we're doing this episode is because I feel we're stronger than ever, and it's safe to bring up this stuff without like, well, at the end we're walking away and we're getting divorced.
Taking separate cars.
Because I mean, I think back and which, by the way, I think this episode is going way better than what I thought. I was like, we're gonna be in this 5 minutes in, and she's just gonna start crying.
I know. I'm like, don't cry,
and let it
so
all
emotional.
out. So now that the military life is over, and storm. I call it the storm, right? Mm-hmm. Of the transition when veterans get out, and we're over that hump. Where along the way would you be like, I wish I would have told myself this, or I wish I would have fucking told him that, or done this or done that? Because you can't help the pain that you felt, that I've made you feel. I mean, It's done.
Yeah.
Right? But you can help couples out there who are in those phases right now.
I would mostly say, speak up. I think that was my issue, was not speaking up. Just kind of be like, okay, well, this is the new path we're going to take, I guess. Because I feel if I would have spoken up to you, I feel that you kind of lost yourself. Maybe, that would have brought up the issue and put it on the table, and we would have talked about it. Also, I guess it's just that fear of of the unknown. Like, if I would have brought it up then, like, who knows, like, maybe it wasn't good that I waited, or maybe it was. But if you are stronger than me and are more vocal than me, then yeah, don't be afraid to ask them, like, what's wrong? How else can I help you? Like, you don't have to go through it by yourself. I'm here. I decided, I do want to help you.
Which I think that right there is telling them like, hey, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Talk to me. I think it would help a lot of alcoholism, suicides, divorces, and just unnecessary fights and unnecessary outbursts from the wife to the husband, from the husband to the wife.
Or maybe if you are like me and it's hard to speak up, well, write it down. There's been a couple times I had to write you letters because I didn't know how to say it face to face to you. So even writing it down or letter to him, because you're just by yourself with the notepad, and it's easier to express yourself that way in a letter and just give it to them. That might help also. It's helped us the couple times I have written to you. We were together. He wasn't deployed or anything. Like I was like, he came home and I was like, here, I wrote this while you were out at lunch.
Yeah.
So,
which by the way, I feel like I'm gonna have to pry. I'm gonna have to dig because you're being too nice. You're being too nice, and so you're being way too nice to me. And don't. You gotta let it out.
Oh no.
Because at one point I feel like you had it. You were like, I'm fucking over this BS.
Yeah.
Maybe not in, because you were just like Benji said it, like, yeah, Larissa just said yes, okay to everything, and they accepted it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you spouses accept everything and let us do our thing and not question it, and then not bring up certain things, and then it bottles up sometimes when you're in, and then that's when the divorce happens, or sometimes when it's out. And I can't help it feel that year after year of being not even sometimes second thought, but like third or fourth thought affected you.
Well, yeah, because you live for so long being third or fourth in the priority list that you just kind of forget, in my case, to speak up or be like, well, I need to take a shower and I need to tell him. Like, it's just like, okay, well, maybe when he's gone and the kids are sleeping, you just kind of forget. And for a while I did, or I'm still learning how to put myself first. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Yeah.
I'm learning. So it does have that effect on your spouses. So, once in a while, check in on them. Be like, do you need me to do anything? Maybe just rub your feet from a long day of doing everything.
That's very true. After the psychedelic thing, I think I realized how much work you have to do.
We compare steps and I'm like, aha. No. But you, after the psychedelic trip, I would say that you are a lot more considerate to my needs, which I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. I haven't taken a break. Like, I'm also used to just being on the go and, helping the company grow. And
one of the things you said after I did the psychedelic trip is you said, I wish you would. You didn't say I wish, but you said you should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because I got out 2016 and I didn't do it until this year.
Right.
And what did you mean by that?
So I felt that if you would have done it sooner, you would have realized that you did put us in the back burner for so long, and maybe would have avoided the second separation, or just a lot of fights, or
a lot of fights,
a lot of emotion. Yeah. So if you would have done it sooner, we would have been where we are now then, and then gotten so much better and moved so much better together.
Yeah. Because that's the goal of doing these things. And like, for example, it just happened a couple of days ago where I was DMing somebody about who's about to get out, which I'm so happy that they
reached
texted
out.
me like, hey, reached out and said, hey, I'm about to get out. And we were in our kids' jiu-jitsu class, and I was like, hey, just here's my phone number. Call me, because
It's easier.
It's easier, and we're gonna go back and forth, and yeah. So, you know, these conversations, I think would help. Not us, because that pain's already done, but other couples who are about to get out and
hopefully avoid them, or are currently in them, kind of know how to navigate through them.
So would you? Because I'm a big advocate for psychedelics now, especially not in psychedelics like, hey, do some mushrooms, but like a high dosage, or in a clinical setting like I did, that's just so life changing. You know, would you recommend other spouses to maybe tell their boyfriend
spouse
or husband, like, hey, maybe you should do some psychedelics?
Definitely seeing how you definitely changed for the better. I mean, it's like 9 a day. Seriously, ladies, book those appointments. I mean, you know, what I mean by book those appointments, it's go the route with there being, you know, licensed peoples, you know, that are doing it the right way, not just like, hey, I got some ketamine, let's go to my house, play some music, and let's do it.
I think because I did psychedelics before this ketamine trip, but I think it's going into it like, okay, what do I want from this? What am I going to get from this?
Right.
And
going in wanting to change or for the better.
For the better, instead of just doing it just to get high.
Yeah, kill time. So I definitely recommend it. Even I will say that you don't twitch as much. You don't have.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So coming back from war, dudes scream in their sleep. I've been in Iraq where they sleep. Well, you know, this team leader screams war stuff in his sleep, and when he wakes up, he doesn't remember. He's like, dude, I don't fucking, for real, like I don't even, because you're not doing, he has no control over it, right? He's sleeping. And
when you came,
PTSD thing, I come back, and what is that like, seeing me?
Well, it was because when we actually started sleeping in the same bed, you had already came back from Iraq.
And then Afghanistan, more specifically, because I feel like that was my toughest deployment.
Yeah. So what I mean is, when you came back from Iraq, like either were just kind of minor twitches, just involuntary body twitches, nothing too serious. But after Afghanistan, that's when you would have your hands up in the air. So you'd be laying down and your hands just would be up. And I'd be like, is he asleep? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I'd be like, are you awake? And I'd be like, oh my God, he's really asleep with his hands in air. So I'd be like, put him down. And sometimes you'd just be too stiff and they'd just kind of stay there. But then the times I would get woken up to the hand falling on my face. So I'd be like, oh my God, like what happened? And then I'd be like, did you just do that on purpose? Like, no, he was dead asleep. So I was like, oh my God, okay. So hopefully it doesn't get more violent than that. But I mean, we were lucky enough that it was just the involuntary body twitches and the hands in the air, which eventually would have to come down to my face. So it was kind of getting used to that. And then the sleeping with the gun. Like, I know you were doing it, but I'm like, okay, he's not. I guess the first night it was a gamble of like, okay, let's see
where this goes.
Yeah.
The fact that you're like, this dude loaded up a rifle and you put it right there and he's about to go to sleep. Okay. Like,
I trust you with our newborn child.
That you're not going to kill us all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was like, okay, it'll be okay, you know, and yeah, we were okay. You know, eventually it went away. So I was like, okay, I didn't have to bring that up. He dealt that with himself, you know, by himself. He knew when to put it away. I think also it was a little wake up call when you had a knife also wedged between the mattress and the wall, and AJ found it.
Yeah,
he was he was one. So I was like,
the number of times stuff like that has happened where I'm just like, I'm not as good as a father as I think I am. It's like, and it's the kids.
And it was a big knife. It wasn't
the
like a
kids
little
are
pocket
so quick.
knife.
Yeah, so my
big knife.
1-year-old found a knife and grabbed it, and because I was just like, oh my god, I can't be doing this shit. I gotta do something.
Really?
What's it like when somebody finally acknowledges you? Like, because how many times have you seen someone shake my hand and say thank you for your service, and give me praises, and then somebody says and thank you for your sacrifice?
Yeah, it's weird because you don't hear it, and it's almost like, well, what did I do? Kind of the reaction that you guys sometimes give, like, oh man, like, no, don't, you know. But then afterwards, you're kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, we do kind of hold
Not kind of, you
head
do.
Front. Yeah, but I think it's also kind of, maybe it's just military spouses or maybe just females, but we feel like that is part of our role, like our responsibility, that we don't think much of it as being extra. It's just kind of what we have to do. Like
what's our job?
Yeah, and
We're supposed to be second in line.
Yeah, it's very hard for us to ask for help. I think, you know, like, I need help with childcare, or like, can somebody watch my kids so I don't go crazy? It's just kind of like, this is what it is, and this is what unknowingly signed up for.
I mean, other spouses are better at this than us.
Of course.
But so many of us are not as good as those few couples, because we've met strong couples in the military. But I think most of us, to be honest,
you're young, you don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
You don't know really what you signed up for. I mean, some people do it better, just like with everything else. But, you know, I feel like the spouses are just kind of like, okay, this is what my share of it. I have to deal with it. Kind of like you guys are like, well, I'm dealing with this. This is my responsibility. Like, I don't have to bother her with that. Kind of. So when people do, like, even sometimes at the ranges, like, people or the events, they're like, oh, thank you. Like, also you for putting this on. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, I do help. But I'm like,
even to this day, people, like, you're such a big help and big part of the company.
I guess maybe I don't see it because it's just kind of like, it's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I didn't. It was kind of hard. And again, I was like, put you second, and then it started hitting me on how much you do for the company, and then I was like, that's why I tell people now, when they say thank you for this or thank you for that, it's like, it's a team effort. Like, it's a team effort. I might be the face, like this past event.
Which, thank you. I don't want to be the face of the company. You're so much well spoken. Very motivational.
Well, okay. I think. And Shelby called it. Shelby.
Yes.
I got drunk one time.
Oh, do tell that story.
So
the 4th of July.
I got drunk at a 4th of July. Was it a fair?
Yeah, I watched at Tacoma.
In Tacoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I gave a speech on how great the wives are and that we need them. And Shelby, this is what year is this? 2011.
I was
12?
pregnant with Ari, so probably 2013.
2013.
So July 4th, 2013.
And Shelby was like,
It's on Facebook somewhere. I'm gonna find it.
You're a more motivational speaker. You should do this.
It's your calling.
It's your calling. And I remember me being drunk, being like, "You're fucking crazy." Like, I'm just drunk. I'm just fucking blabbing away.
No, you're speaking the truth.
And she called it. She called it a long time ago. But it's like, it's just accumulation of the good people that we've met in the military and who have helped me so much grow and be who I am. So thank them. And thank you for doing so much. And thank our sponsors for the podcast. It's like the intro fucking sucks.
You need a song.
I do need a song. I'll figure this out. But I mean, we're in the early stages of this thing.
We have time.
When am I supposed to talk about our sponsors? We were watching the Wendy Cummings podcast, and I was like, why does she do the fucking sponsors in the middle? Like,
so you're destroying the
flow.
Yeah. Who knows?
You know, and I'll figure this out. But yeah, I think we covered enough. I think you were too good on me, and the pain and the stuff I put you through.
You don't want me crying. That's what it is.
Huh?
He said, "You don't want me crying." I don't think they want.
I don't want you
in.
crying, but I just
get
expected
emotional.
you to lay it all out. But you were just so kind about things. So thank you. Because I seriously thought, man, people are gonna listen to this podcast, and they're gonna be like, "Angel's a piece of shit," because that's
I see the
one of
good
the
in
reasons
you.
why I didn't want to do it. Was because I was like, I'm not proud of myself back then. Like, I didn't know that I was doing it. But like, I don't like that I ignored you so much, that I put you second, that I ignored my kids, and I was a good army dad, but overall as a father, I wasn't as good, and I didn't capitalize on the time that we did. You know, some of those barbecues didn't need to happen with the boys. Some of those outings with the boys didn't need to happen. We could have made it a family event. You're so good to me, but right now. But I think. So then you're making me voice my own wrongdoings, which
Maybe I wanted to do that.
I wanted you to do it
Right.
because I could do it. I can do it now because I can think back and all of that. So it's guys. I tell people tell me I'm about to get married or I'm about to go in. What's family life like? And I tell them you have to capitalize on the amount of time that you have. Which, depending on your job, is not going to be a lot. You know, you're going to be gone so much for training, for deployments, for this and that. So I would say, you know, do the family time, do the kid time. Try to do as much as you can while you're home, which I know it's hard because you're back home and you're like, oh, I'm not training, I'm not deployed, I can relax, I just want to watch TV or play video games,
unwind on your
or
own,
work on my car, whatever your hobby is, that you just want to relax. That you know, maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to put work somewhere else. I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, or told myself I
or
don't
maybe
wanna,
just find activities where you can unwind together, because while you were gone, you know, your spouse was dealing with other things.
yeah,
there was
home.
one incident that I remember now. You were at some school, I don't know which one at that time, but Ari was a baby, she was still an infant, and she was just vomiting everything. She was solely breastfeeding, so she would just vomit everything right after feeding. So, but it got to the point where I was like, okay, she's not keeping anything down, she's not eating. I could reach you, but I was like, I'm not going to. So I had to take her to the ER, and I couldn't take AJ with me. And since we're in Georgia, there's no family, or at that time we didn't have any close friends enough that I can leave him with. So I went with my neighbor. Luckily, she was home. So I had to leave him with her, which I'm so sorry, my baby. But that was hard. And then, so I had to go to the ER with her, and she ended up having croup. So they gave her steroids to inhale to kind of, I guess that was the treatment.
Yeah.
So then, you know, and I told you once you got back home, I didn't call you. I waited. So maybe things like that don't do. You know, do let them know, because they are the dad, and that's a lot to kind of hold in and wait
I know.
for them to be home.
So yes, I mean, spend time as much as you can, and I mean, don't bottle in. I mean, when my friends were dying, when they came home, I don't think I cried at all. I don't think I dealt with it until I was out, and then Celise was killed.
And that was hard too, because since your spouse doesn't find a time to deal with it, it's like we also can't deal with it, because I found out that Pinnick and Lily passed away through Facebook. I opened it up and I was like, why are all these pictures of them? Like, crap, did something happen? And then I start seeing rest in peace. And I was like, oh my God, like, no.
Because we've had so many barbecues with them. They've been to our house. I mean, how many barbecues did we do together? I mean, Pinnick was such a...
They were family, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you immediately reach out to the spouse, to Martha, and, you know, of course she's not responding because she herself is dealing with it. So, At that time, I was in California and she was in Washington, so I couldn't help her. You know, I couldn't be there for her.
And that too, it's like, I didn't know, like, I didn't even think about, like, well, check in on Analia. Like, how is she doing? Like, a friend that somebody she knows was hurt. You know, maybe she's going through some stuff too. I'm purposely not dealing. Well, not purposely. Well, I'm just not dealing with it.
It's not the time. Yeah,
it's not the time. But I don't even think of saying like, "Hey, how's my?" It's her friend too. Mm-hmm. And it's that type of stuff that I think we should be aware of. Mm-hmm. To also check. We need to check in with our spouse. Like, hey, how are you doing? Like, hey, I missed the birth of our kids. I missed the ultrasound. I missed the first steps. Like, are you okay? Like, I'm putting so much on you. Because right before you get married, because so many of us do it so young in the military, obviously we don't know. We don't know what, no one gave us a fucking book.
Yeah, no handbook.
So we're not even thinking like, hey, it's
what's
affecting
to come,
them,
or
what's to come, and this and that.
Yeah.
So I would say also for us to check on you and not think of so much of us. It's such a selfish thing.
Yeah.
Because everything revolves around us, right? I mean, wash my uniform, clean my food.
Yeah, because you're the sole provider, unless there is that couple where they're either both in or, you know, the spouse also works, which I can't imagine having to work and having kids while your spouse is in the military. So props to those mom and checking on them too. I mean, they have shitty bosses too, or horrible coworkers, but you know, I think it's hard to kind of let yourself as a spouse deal with some emotions, kind of like you guys don't deal with them. It's like, okay, right now is not the time. June that year was very hard because we lost Pinnick and Lily, and then also back home I lost my uncle, so it was very hard, but I didn't mention it to you. You know, it's like, well, you know, he needs to worry about staying alive, keeping the boys alive. So,
and then remember the time where we were on the phone together?
Oh yeah,
and
I heard.
Did you hear the explosion?
I did, but I didn't want you to know that I did.
Yeah, so I'm literally on the phone with her.
Yeah.
And our friend Cav got blown up.
Where was this?
In Afghanistan. I'm in Afghanistan on the phone with her. And as soon as I heard the explosion, I knew the dudes had just gone out. And I just hang up. You know, you said something, but I was just kind of like, I was there, but I wasn't there. Yeah.
Because I heard that. And then I heard you like off the phone and say something. And then you were like, oh, like I have to go or something. But in my head, I wanted to say like, yeah, go. But I was just like, if I pretend that I didn't hear him or I didn't hear that, maybe he'll think that the line got cut off. So I didn't hear it, and he'll just focus on the mission as opposed to like, fuck, she heard or something. So I was just like, don't say anything. Kind of, and it was like, scary. And I think at that time right away, like it hit me more like something can happen at any moment. Like, cause you know about it, but you don't let yourself dwell on it. So it's just kind of like, you know, just keep the day going. But after that phone call, I just started crying because I'm like, I don't know what it was. I didn't know Calf got blown up.
Yeah,
For all I've known, it could have been like...
Some of the dudes got blown up. I mean, they all survived and they're good.
But it could have been like, you know, like a truck that blew up to try to get into into you guys. But I know...
Which that did happen also. Dealing with suicide bombers.
So I was just kind of like, oh shit, like... in my case, it scared me more because at that time we had AJ and I didn't have my papers. So I was like, if he dies, like I'm going to be deported. Like there's no way for me to get my papers or my green card or anything. because I think there was at that time there was a spouse dealing without her husband died, and they were trying to deport her, but like that was the issue going on, or the case.
Yeah. Isn't that fucking crazy that can happen? That you could be married to a service member, they die, and then
you don't have a status.
And if you don't have status, you get deported.
So I was scared because I was like, well, I mean, I do have family in Mexico, but I was like, but I don't want my son growing up in Mexico because he's a citizen.
Which is like that. Even that pressure, I wasn't even aware of, and I didn't even think about. And then people might say like, "Oh, well, then you got an anchor baby," but people don't know. But that's not even a thing anymore. Because there's some cases where they'll just put the kid in the system and then be like, "Yeah, but he's in the system, and you get deported."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because after that, I started looking around to get my paper started, and then a guy said, "Well, you'll get deported, but not your son. Like that's not a reason for you to stay just because you have a baby." And I was like, my baby's a baby. Like he needs me. Like I can't leave him for months just to figure out
who
aren't citizens.
And then they get deported. So it's like
there was that Vice documentary, which is crazy. Like how does that happen, or how has that been allowed to be done?
Because something happened. They committed a crime like a DUI before they got their papers. And they're like, that's when they're like, "Oh, you're not born here. I don't care if you're a veteran."
But that's what I mean. Like, why doesn't that matter that they voluntarily decided to serve their country, like a country they're not even from? Like, it's
crazy.
Yeah, not fair.
But
I have some questions.
Yeah.
So, what was it like when he was in Iraq and then Afghanistan, and he changed? Like, did you notice a change in like how Afghanistan was more popping, right?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
And when he would come back, would you notice like it was a different kind of war he had endured? Yeah,
I would say after Iraq, he was still kind of like himself. But after Afghanistan, definitely like more mature, more serious. Because I think with Iraq, not a lot happened and you guys were on a big base because you had internet access.
Yeah.
Because you were Facebook and everybody and anybody. So I think with Iraq, it was a lot harder, and what they went through experience-wise, everything that happened, that deployment, you were not as, how do I say, open, I guess, after Afghanistan.
For sure, more closed in.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's no book. Like, they train us so much to use our weapon systems, to communicate, to move, to use your vehicles, to do this and that. But there's no book on when you experience certain things, when you have to deal with suicide bombers, multiple ones in the same day, fight day in, day out, sometimes with no sleep. And sometimes I remember one of our chiefs, the SF chief, that was like, if nothing happens today, it will be our first 2-day break with no fighting since July or June or something like that. And I remember it was September. I was like, so for July, August, and September, we've been fighting again in gunfights, and we haven't had a 2-day break. That's how much fighting. Or sometimes you're so delusional that you've got no rest, and there's explosions, and you come back and you're like completely different. And I mean, no one, like, we just don't talk about it, and we need to talk about it more. And I think you did a good job. You were so nervous for this episode, but I think you did a good job. But I think you were too kind on some of the stuff that happened. I wanted it to come from you. But I just think that, you know, I did neglect you. I neglected the kids. I didn't know how to control my emotions, and I would get angry so fast on things that
Yeah.
weren't even
Well,
that significant, and they would ruin the whole day.
I think I didn't realize it because, like I said, we got married very young, and right away you deployed. You know, and then you came back, and then I think at that time I wasn't living in Washington yet. No, yeah, we were. It was like October. I moved up, and then, but you were gone so much, you know. It was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of who he is. I didn't realize that, like that wasn't always who you were. Like you wouldn't always be short fused, because then after Afghanistan, it was more intense, and I don't think it like dawned on me like, wait, like he wasn't always like that. It was just kind of like, oh well, we're spending a bit more time together, because once we moved to Georgia, you were able to come home during lunch, and you know,
that's why I tell dudes special operations is the fucking way to be, because they're
like we spend more time, definitely.
Like, yes, in special operations you have to work hard, dude. Like you have to train in all the time, you're deploying all the time. But when you're not deployed and you're not getting ready for a deployment, like it's if you're not doing something, you'll go home. So because I remember, you know, I'm in the regular army, and then I'm in special operations, and I remember quickly thinking like, dude, we have it so easy. Yeah. Because I got so spoiled so fast that I would look at the clock and I would be like, dude, it's fucking 1:30 in the afternoon. Why am I not home? Because like there was nothing to do, and you get.
I mean, we were lucky enough. We lived on the base, so we would have breakfast together. You would leave, and then you'd come back. We'd have lunch, and then maybe you would leave. Maybe if you had to go back.
Because if there's something, because we're gone so much, and you're deployed every fucking year, but when we're not in that mode, dude, if there's nothing to do, the leadership would be like, dude, go home, you know, because they value, you know, family time, and they do a lot of great stuff for the family.
That I will say, the army, regular army, FRG, those events, like I wanted to go to them, but the couple times that Angel like, okay, we'll go to this one, I was like, oh, like,
does it make you want to go?
Yeah. And then when we went, you know, to Savannah with special operations, I was like, oh my God, like this is actually like
a community.
Yes, because you actually do get to talk to the other spouses, because it's so kind of small, and then it's like the environment that they provide for you is like welcoming, and you want to like, oh, like how can I help? Or like, you know, it's amazing, and the kids actually have fun, because I think one of the very few FRG things we did over there was like, I think it was a barbecue, but it was like in a huge tent. There's like, I don't know how many people, but it's like everybody's like who do I talk to? Like if somebody else in the unit went, or, you know, if you're close in it, which usually nobody did go.
Yeah.
So it's just, you're in a room full of strangers eating like mac and cheese and cold barbecue chicken. It's like,
and then you just go home.
Yeah. It was like, well, that was a waste of time, but you know,
that was regular army FRG events. It's because like the brigade is so big that sometimes when you go, you don't know where everyone's sitting, or sometimes like you're just like, well, I sit here, and then a different platoon comes, or a different,
it's not organized,
or company. It's so unorganized.
And also to the spouses, FRG is kind of like its own little high school of girls.
Yeah.
So not everyone is nice. Not everyone is in there for the same motives. So just definitely high school vibes all over again. Just the clique of the girls, and then there's slutty girls, and
that can be at its own podcast. It's so many wives fucking cheat.
Yeah, there's like husband swapping, which I didn't know. Me and Whitney didn't know. We were like, wait a second, like what's going on here?
Yeah. But we'll save that for another episode. But thank you for coming and being on. Thank you for our sponsors, which is Thrash and Raid. It's a
amazing
skateboard company. Amazing company. We know that we just spent the weekend with them. They're a beautiful family, hardworking.
Big hearts.
And now, Hero Games, which we also went to go beat.
Another amazing
family.
Yes. Shout out to them. You guys are awesome.
Hero Games charity is they host events annually. And the proceeds goes to bringing the family of a fallen soldier, and money raised goes towards them. But more important, I think, is that they bring them in to Bedford, Virginia, where the event is held, and they actually care about them. They want to meet them. They want to get to know them. They want to let them know that, like, hey, this isn't just a one-time thing because your husband died and I'm trying to get like a photo op and then shoot you on your way and we never talk. It's like, no, they care.
Building a community, just like all these other companies that we are with. So
thank you, Hero Games. If you're wondering how can I support Hero Games, well, they got shirts,
merchandise,
and hats for sale. So go buy a hat.
You're wearing their hat?
Yep, I'm wearing their hat, which is my favorite hat. Seriously,
he just washed it, so that's why it looks so clean.
And if you can attend the event, which it's kind of like a selection process where you have teams, and they give you some poles, a bunch of sandbags, plywood, 2 wheels. They tell you make a contraption, carry this, go through that, go through this mud, go through that. And it's a team building event. It kicks your ass, but it's for a good cause. So if you can attend the event,
you can take your kids because they have daycare there.
Yep.
So they'll watch your kids. So even if you bring your spouse and your spouse can even join the team or watch or follow you guys, and the kids will be taken care of.
Yep.
I stayed back because our youngest will not let me go anywhere.
Nope.
Apparently our umbilical cord is still attached. So I stayed back, and they had, water balloon fights, sack races, 3-legged races, and our kids are still talking about it. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Kayla, you're awesome.
So thank you for our sponsors, and thank you, Ryan, for doing this and helping me out so much. And thank you for the listeners.
Thanks, everybody.